Right, I'm speaking to Sandy Chadwin, local author and writer, although I still don't quite understand the difference between those two words, but still. Now, we were talking about writers' circles before, and intimidation and not intimidation, how you make people feel welcome and so on. Is a way perhaps into those writers' circles a book group?
Very possibly, yes. There's several out there. Where you meet up, a book is chosen, you read it, and then you discuss the book. There are also, if you have online access, there are several available online. The Guardian newspaper website certainly had a book club, and as far as I know it still has. There's specialist ones for people who say like historical fiction or science fiction or things like that. So
fiction in the Northeast?
It wouldn't surprise me if there was one, because there's a surprising number of authors based around here.
Like Val McDermid, for example, has a cottage in Northumberland, doesn't she?
Says I believe, yes. Anne Cleves lives in my part of the world, Whitley Bay. There's some of your listeners may have come across the novels of Daniel Easterman and Jonathan Aycliffe, who are in fact the same person.
Oh, right.
And he's a lecturer at Durham University. Daniel Easterman writes big, chunky thrillers, and Jonathan Aycliffe writes ghost stories, at least one of which is set in Tynemouth.
Right.
Pat Barker, who wrote the First World War trilogy, the name of which I'm now completely forgotten. She's based in Durham, I think. So there's a few. Plus there's publishers based around here. Peter Mortimer runs the Iron Press, Colourcoats. There's Red Squirrel Press, Blood Axe Books. There's the Wild Wolf Books, which specialises in horror and crime. There's a lot out there.
So how does one then come from the writers group into going to one of these publishers to get one's writing published?
Well, that's there's the rub. You've basically got to put your stuff out and expect and be ready for rejection, because you will be. And once, all you have to do is keep plugging away, don't take it personally. You can try competitions. The North Tyneside Library, I know, every year runs the storytelling competition, and there are others. Again, you can find things online. There's the Writers magazine you can subscribe to, and that gives tips and also will let you know about competitions. The Writers and Artists Yearbook will tell you what sort of publisher publishes what, because one of the worst sins you could commit is you've written a crime novel and you send it to a publisher who only publishes history books, and they get very tetchy. And these days, increasingly, publishers will have windows, so they will only accept submissions at a certain time. So again, always check up and do your research beforehand, and best of luck. The other option is, of course, self-publishing.
And do the publishers, if they reject you, give you a critique of the writing, or do they just send it back and say, get lost?
Pete Mortimer will give you a idea, but he, in my experience, is pretty much unique. Most publishers, you just get a rejection slip, which, if you're lucky, just says, this book, thank you for your manuscript, sadly it does not currently suit our needs.
What a disappointment. Well, as you say, you've got to expect it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much indeed for coming in, Sandy, and telling us about this. I've been talking with Sandy Chadwin, local author and writer.